Okay, now we're going to look at a few questions with regards to calculating profit loss and a break-even point when operating a business. Ideally, you would make a profit, or at the very least, break even if you own a business. You want to minimize losses as much as possible, because if they start to build up over time, then your business is just not going to be viable anymore. You're going to have to close up shop. So we're going to look at calculating annual and average monthly revenue and expenses for a business, determining whether a business has experienced a profit, loss, or a break-even point. And in the last video, we looked at identifying ways in which a business can improve its profitability and identifying some viable small business options. So the first question, in order for a business to make a profit, which must be true? Is it true that your operating costs must be low? Should your employees be paid on a low scale? Should revenue be greater than expenses? Or should income taxes be low? Okay, ideally, operating costs are low, but that's not necessarily a requirement for a profit, because if operating costs are high, you can still make a profit if you still make a lot in revenue. So this is not an example. Employees must be paid on a low scale. Well, lots of businesses can be profitable and still pay their employees a good wage. They don't necessarily have to be paid on a low scale. Again, if the business is making a lot of money, making a lot of sales, they can still make a profit even if their employees are paid well. So that's not necessarily true. Should revenue be greater than expenses? Well, this is the one here. A profit is when the amount of money you take in is higher than the amount of money that you're giving off, or you're spending. So revenue is the amount of money you take in. Expenses is the amount of money that you're giving away. So this is my answer. So C is going to be the answer here. And D, income taxes must be low. Well, again, for a profit, it's often useful for your income taxes to be low, but it's not necessarily a requirement. Lots of businesses can still earn money even if they're paying a lot in income tax. So just to confirm, C is the best and only option, really, for this question. So this question here, we're going to look at actually doing some calculations determining whether or not Patrick here is making a profit, or if he's making losses, or if he's even breaking even. So Patrick started an online business selling graphic t-shirts. He charges $19.99 per shirt. It costs Patrick $10.50 to produce each t-shirt. His operating costs are $451 per month. In 1 month, he made 75 t-shirts, but he only sold 60 of them. Has Patrick covered his expenses? And if so, what is his even if he hasn't, what is his net income? So the first thing we're going to have to do here is worry about, well, we can start with either his revenue or his expenses, but I'm going to start with the expenses. Okay, so he makes 75 t-shirts, and the cost to make each t-shirt is $10.50. So we're going to multiply that by $10.50. And that works out to 75 times 10.5, $787.50. In that month, he spent $787.50 to make his t-shirts. But he also had other operating costs. I guess that would be things like his machines. He has an online business, so he must be maintaining a website. So he has other expenses that he has to worry about as well. So on top of that, he's going to spend $451 every month. So it's $787.50 for the t-shirts alone, but another $451 every month in incidentals. So the total amount of money he's going to spend to make his t-shirts in that month, the total amount of expenses is going to be $1,238.50. Okay, now we're going to look at his revenue. He charges $19.99 per t-shirt, and he sells 60 that month. So he sells 60 t-shirts at $19.99 each. So that works out to $1,199.40. So he spent $1,238.50 that month and made $1,199.40 for the month. So has he covered his expenses? His expenses are clearly larger. So no, he hasn't covered his expenses. He hasn't covered his expenses. He spent $1,238.50 for that month, but only raised $1,199.40. So the last question is, what is his net income? So your net income, that's going to be the same as when we looked at profit. Your net income is going to be your revenue minus expenses. So for Patrick's business this month, his revenue was $1,199.40, and his expenses was $1,238.50. So putting that into your calculator, you get a value of minus $39.10. So in other words, Patrick lost $39.10 for the month. That's his net expense, his net income, sorry. So he made a loss that month of $39.10. He didn't quite reach break even, and he definitely didn't get a profit. What must he have charged for his t-shirts what must he have charged for his t-shirts in order to break even? We know that the total expenses were $1,238.50. So in order to break even, he needs to have his revenue equal to that. So what he must do is sell his t-shirts at a price that will get him $1,238.50 in total revenue. So we're going to get his total charge on his t-shirts. It would be the revenue divided by the number of sales. Okay, so his revenue is $1,238.50, and his total sales for that month, he had 60 t-shirts. So we're going to divide 1,238.5 by 60 t-shirts. That means he should have charged $20.64 according to my calculator. So the amount that he should have charged to break even, as opposed to $19.99, was to charge an extra 65 cents a t-shirt, and he would have reached a break-even point. So if Patrick charged $20.64 per shirt, he would have broken even. Okay, so an extra 65 cents on the 6 t-shirts would have been enough for him to be able to break even. And another question, if he had only produced 60 t-shirts, what would Patrick's net income be then? So remember that the amount that he paid, or that he spent on each t-shirt to make them, is $10.50. So if he only produced 60 t-shirts, then the amount that he would have spent would have been 60 times $10.50, which works out to, type that into my calculator, $630. But we also got to add on his additional monthly expenses, which is $451. So he would have had his expenses for that month would have been $1,081. His total income for that month was $1,199.40. So his net would have been $1,199.40 minus the $1,081 in expenses. So I put that in my calculator. And it tells me if he hadn't been a little overzealous in making his t-shirts, he would have made $118.40 for that month. So he actually would have made a little bit of a profit. So if he didn't make too many t-shirts, he would have made a profit. So maybe next month he can cut down on the number of t-shirts he made and then hopefully sell the rest. His net income would have been a positive number this time, $118.40, if he had only made 60 t-shirts. Okay, so to summarize this, losses occur whenever expenses are higher than revenues. Usually we look at this on a month-by-month basis. The break-even point is when the revenues and expenses are exactly the same. So in other words, every cent that you paid out, you got back and nothing more. Profits occur whenever revenues are greater than expenses. So once you reach the break-even point in a given time period, every extra bit of money you earn is going to be profit. And for a business to remain viable, in other words, for it to be worth it to remain open, you must be able to make a profit. Now this could take a little while. You don't expect to make a profit in your first month or your first 2 months, but before long you should be expecting to make a profit, or you're going to be spending a lot of money into your business, and that could lead to a lot of financial problems further on down the road. So you want to make sure that at some point you're going to be able to start turning a profit in order for your business to remain viable.